Cleveland Guardians are embarking on a 7-game road trip, a very fascinating one. They just got done with the Baltimore Orioles last night, winning a phenomenal game. We talked about this a little bit earlier. NBA draft's going to be on tomorrow night. I would rather watch a fascinating Guardians Orioles game before moving in on a 4-game road trip here with the Kansas City Royals over the weekend. Now, Josh, I had my good buddy from Black Shore Radio, Kent State University, baseball aficionado, as I called him. He loves baseball. My good friend Sean Fitzgerald on the show, Today's Brandon's World, and we discussed this. My thing about the Guardians this year is I am not surprised that they have an elite bullpen. I'm not surprised that they are hitting better than they did a year ago. My biggest surprise is they are hitting for power.
See, that's where I'm a little bit different from you, is because, the Orioles, like, everybody expected them to kind of be where they are, being that they had the best record in the American League last season. I heard more mixed feelings about the Guardians. One, because they finished third place in the AL Central and missed the playoffs. Two, because Terry Francona retired and they replaced him with Stephen Vogt. And three, because all I heard was their offense is so dependent on Jose Ramirez. So I am more surprised about the Guardians and where they are. The fact that they have 50 wins are basically tied with the Yankees for the best record in the American League. I mean, you've got guys like Will Brennan, David Fry, Andres Jimenez, Brian Rocchio, Josh Naylor. They're all contributing to the offense. And the Guardians' starting pitching has actually done well this season, despite the fact that Shane Bieber is done for the season. But, when I first looked at this road trip, I thought it would be challenging because we know what Baltimore was last season. And, of course, Kansas City is a division rival. But as the season wore on and we got closer to said road trip, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a very difficult road trip. I didn't think it would be an impossible one, but you've got Baltimore playing well. I know they just got swept by Houston, but still, they have one of the best records in the American League. And the Royals have proven to be a decent team this season. They're right in the thick of the American League playoff discussion. You can't just dismiss them with the likes of Seth Lugo, Bobby Witt Jr., Cole Reagans, and some of their other guys. So, yeah, this is a very intriguing road trip for the Guardians.
Well, you take it from a series perspective. I'm just taking it from a team perspective. I know that this team, obviously, we talk about this is going to be a very hard road trip, but there's no doubt in my mind this team could win 4 or 5 games on this road trip because this team is so balanced. And, you mentioned Bieber being out after 2 tremendous starts to start the year. He looked like he was going to be on track. And, Cookie Carrasco finally had a good start after he was getting blown up early in the season. Tristan McKenzie has not looked right the last couple of starts. Gavin Williams has not even pitched yet this season, and this rotation is still sticking together.
I like Ben Lively, by the way. He's been a very good pitcher.
He's come out of nowhere. And, the bullpen has been all week. They've been shut down no matter who they throw out there. I mean, Barlow last night with those wicked sliders in the ninth to put away Baltimore. But the one thing I love about this team, and you know how I feel about baseball. I think baseball is tradition. I think it's one of those sports where I don't like seeing a guy hitting 200, but he hits 35 homers. I'm not in that business.
Sure.
I like the fact that these guys, they hit for contact. They hit singles. They hit doubles. They steal bases. They hit homers. They pitch well. They do everything fundamentally you can be to be a very good baseball team. And dare I say, a potential legitimate World Series contender. My only holdback on this Guardians not making a potential long playoff run is I know who we're going to have to go up against, and it's not the Houston Astros, obviously, but it's that other team, the American League, known as the New York freaking Yankees, who this year seem to have everything going their way.
Well, they did lose two out of. I think they lost 2 out of 3 against the Braves, and they lost 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers.
They did, but boy, I know it was early in the year. I think it was early May, but we had our worst series of the year by far when we played them.
Yeah. Um, but I do look at what the Guardians have done recently. I know the Blue Jays have not lived up to expectations, but still, you go out and you win 2 out of 3 against the West leading Seattle Mariners. You go out and win two out of 3 against the Toronto Blue Jays, who have been a playoff team the past few years, so you can't just dismiss them. And now you're facing the Baltimore Orioles. Then you got to play the Royals, and then you come home, you get basically a gimme series against the White Sox, but then you have a pesky San Francisco Giants team coming to town. That's an intriguing schedule.
Hell, the number one rule in baseball: win every series, win 2 out of 3. And do you know the Guardians last week? So this number may need to be updated, but I do know that as of last week, as we headed into this week, if the Guardians were to finish a game under 500 to finish the year, they'd still finish with 93 wins.
Wow.
That's how good this team has been.
So I know it's mid-June, but I have to ask you, do you think that this series we're seeing right now between the Guardians and Orioles at Oriole Park could be a potential ALCS preview?
It's hard to say whether it could be ALCS. I mean, it could be ALDS for all we know. Um, I know with the new MLB rule changes, that third seed is going to have to play in the wild card round. So it probably will not be us. We'll probably get a bye the way things are looking right now. But again, who knows? Um, it's very hard in baseball because we know the team that gets hot is usually the team that, late in the year goes on a run. I mean, look at the Arizona Diamondbacks last year.
Or the Texas Rangers.
Yeah, but the Rangers were there at their division the whole year. Arizona really wasn't. Nobody really thought they were a legitimate threat. Where Texas and Houston and Seattle were battling for the AL West all season long. So, we'll see. I like this team. I think Vogue, even though I love Francona, and I think Vogue has some Francona qualities. But again, like we talked about with JJ Redick, he's a younger guy relating to the players, bringing some more analytics into this team. And they just look like they're having fun.
Yeah. And I think that's a huge part of it, going back to the JJ Redick stuff, is Stephen Vogt is a former player, so he can relate to these guys.
Former catcher as well, which means he had to manage all those pitchers. Catchers are like point guards, essentially. That's why, they say point guards make the best coach. Why they say in the NFL, quarterbacks make the best coaches. Well, in baseball, it's catchers.